Hey healers, welcome to my channel. I am Sarada Muladar, the root chakra goddess. You may also know me as Amira Barakat al-Baladi, the sacred stripper. I'm not a stripper no more, but I did write the essay, Sacred Stripper, Intersections of Religion, Sex Work, Culture, and Consent in Towards Bodily Autonomy, which is I don't know what I can say yet. But it's a healing justice anthology decolonizing sex work and drug use. So excited to be part of this anthology and be contributing to the culture and the conversation around these topics, specifically spirituality and sex work. And me becoming an expert and a speaker and a healer in this realm took me somewhere I could have never imagined with my psychic gifts. I've opened up to the mysteries of the universe and I love it. I love it here. I'll never go back. I never want to be a normie. So this convo is about sex worker safety and OnlyFans because we're going to be looking at internet culture, internet safety, sex worker stigma, and all of that. So for those of you guys that don't know me, I founded a group called Heaven on Earth. I channeled a style of Reiki that's called Heaven on Earth Reiki. I channeled it specifically from my ancestors, my ancient ancestors, and I specifically called upon my sex working LGBTQ ancestors at the time. Now, the transformation that I've gone through, I don't divide people up by those labels anymore. But when I did call upon those ancestors, they came through strong and heavy for me. And they showed up in the biggest ways. What I've learned is immeasurable. So that's what I share with you guys, specifically in my course, Root Lock. So after channeling Heaven on Earth Reiki, I taught for a while. I had already been teaching Reiki and something just wasn't completely clicking. But once I channeled my own style of Reiki and I just started focusing more so on channeling versus using other people's methods or learning what other people do, studying what other people do, it worked really well for me. And that was how I was able to open up to the mysteries of the universe. So I provide that in my Reiki style for you. I have a method that allows you to really make it your own. Like, I'm not imposing anything on you. That's not what I'm about, but I give you the tools that I used to call upon my ancient ancestors and my starseed lineages to open up that messaging and that communication within me. And then I also give you the whole like Reiki manual with how to do hands-on and distance Reiki and what you need for spiritual protection and what you need for self-care, all those things. So we have a community where we continuously practice this style together. And it's been so cool to see the development of our members, to see like how people have been able to use the Reiki style to improve their finances, improve their relationships, improve their life, to get more in touch with their bodies, to heal their bodies, to heal from chronic illness and chronic pain, to heal from chronic mental illness. This method works. It really, really works when you apply it. And I decided to extend it because, okay, so if I were to sit here and tell you the whole story, it would take a long time. So I'll just keep it short. My Reiki style is not like any other Reiki style. And I have a video that's called The Truth About Reiki on my channel if you want to learn more. So first I was like, okay, a 2-day class is not long enough. So I made it a 3-day class. And then I was like, you know what, actually we need more time. So I had the initiation on day 1, and then day 22, I had the orientation. So that I could check back in with my students after they had gone through their shedding process. Because when you get initiated into Reiki, you go through a spiritual detox, you go through a spiritual shedding process. So I have all these different resources to support you guys for that. I have a 22-day detox ebook. I have a 40 days and 40 nights spiritual detox challenge. And I have my Heaven on Earth Reiki 1 and 2 manual. And I consistently stayed current with my clients and students and supporting them. And then what I realized that I needed to do was put it into a course. So because I also had the Reiki 1 and 2 initiations and further initiations that you could get more energy activations. Isis Reiki, which is for activating your sexual healing energy, activating your womb portal. Um, Man, it's so good. It works so good. And that's, it's like in line with like the Mary Magdalene lineage. It's a little bit different with the Isis energy. And calling it Isis Reiki was really important to me to reclaim that word and to just sort of muddle and complicate the narrative around ISIS as a terrorist group, which is we all know that's CIA. But anyways, next topic. That's not on topic. So in case you didn't know, the majority of the things that we see in the news, like a lot of times things that are sacred and things that are special, their names will be stolen by someone else or something else that gets more press than they do so that it can cover up their existence. This happens with individuals, this happens with goddesses like Isis, it happens with organizations. So we are basically living in a world in which nothing that we have that gets put in front of our faces is real. It's all a lie, and it's all designed specifically to manipulate us. These manipulation tactics have been well studied, well planned out. They're based on real market research of real people for generations. The fashioners of the society know how people work. That's why they use something called monarch programming to program people. And that's how they create slave bloodlines and slave lineages. And one of the things that we do within our group, within Heaven on Earth Reiki, hoesarehealers, our community, is that we break the generational curse of sex slavery. So you get to choose. Like, you don't have to be stuck in the adult entertainment industry if you don't want to be there. You can literally do anything that you want to do. You got options. And likewise, if you are called to the adult and entertainment industry and that's your passion and it's where you belong and you know it and you're really in your bag and you feel good, that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, it's so rare that it really sucks. And so what's been happening the past few years is that there's been like a recalibration. So a lot of the people that were not thriving in the adult entertainment industry and we're not happy there and we're trapped there have been able to find ways to get out. And a lot of the people that were not in the entertainment industry and wanted to be found ways to get in. So that's the goal, is that everybody gets to do what they want. And unfortunately, choice is often an illusion in the culture that we live in. And a lot of times we have to just make the choice that we can make, even if it's not the choice we want to make. And then we have to be enthusiastic about it. So I'm going to read you guys a little passage from my essay about that. All right. I love this essay so much, honestly. Make sure you guys get the book and read the essay and tell me what you thought. Okay. So one of the reasons that makes sex work so unsafe generally is the fact that there's a high likelihood of sexual assault. If you do sex work, you're guaranteed to get sexually assaulted. It's not if you'll get sexually assaulted, it's when you'll get sexually assaulted. You're almost guaranteed to get sexually assaulted unless you really like have really good boundaries and have really good ability to protect yourself. But honestly, even in those cases, it's important to still be prepared for something to go wrong. And that was one of the reasons that I was so like adamant towards having another stream of income as a healer, as a tarot reader, and why I advocated so hard for other sex workers to also have a stream of income like that. Because one, you're a natural healer. Like, if you already do that and you're already healing people with your pussy, why can't you heal people with your Reiki energy? It's the same thing. So two, if something goes wrong and you need time to heal, I recommend like having a backup, that's something else that you can do so that you don't have to go back to work when you're traumatized. But unfortunately, a lot of us just have to do that. That's everyday life. And if you want to be in this industry, that's probably like what's going to happen. Like, being beautiful, being a beautiful woman, being a sex worker, being a sexual healer, which it's worth noting that, as a wise man once said, all wives are sex workers. You're just going to be preparing your best to prepare yourself for like the ups and downs of life, and that sometimes things are going to hurt and you're still going to have to push through and do it anyways. But I asked this question in my essay: why should sexual violence be an expectation in our work. From violent language to physical violence, our needs are the central needs of the anti-violence movement, and we are so often left out of the conversation. There is so much messaging that tells us we are not important, and yet look at what we have done for ourselves just by being open and vocal. We have transformed the stigma against us to the point that everyone wants to be one of us now. I was talking about how between when I started my page on Instagram, Sacred Stripper, in 2017, and now, which was 2022 when this book was published, or 2021 when this book was published, the culture had completely shifted because of the movement of sex workers online talking about it, sharing about it, and destigmatizing it to the point that now everybody's like, I want to do that too. And it's not just a typical, oh, I want to be a sex worker, but I don't want to touch anybody's dick. Like, I want to be a sugar baby, but I don't want to give any sugar. Hee 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 hee. Hey girl. So yeah, it's more so like that. Now people actually have access points, like actual sex workers that actually sell courses and coaching on how to do it. And it's like amazing cultural moment that we're in where you can make a living doing anything that you want to do, literally. And if you have the skills and the birth chart and the alignment to do it, you can. So I went on to say, we are a reminder to so many that they aren't as accepting or understanding as they tell themselves they are, because so many people can tolerate only so much. When it comes to us, we are way too free, and that scares people who still live within the constraints of so-called normal society. So we must put extra effort into looking normal in order to fight our fights, to fight for our rights, loudly stating that this is just a job and we deserve the same rights as other workers. So in case you guys don't know, that's that's referencing an actual video from a protest that I did, a speech that I gave in a protest, and there's a video of it online, where I was saying, like, we deserve the same rights that all other workers do, and we want the same things that all other workers do. And that was when I was campaigning for decriminalizing sex work in Louisiana, which is like, to give another example of how like nothing is real. Like we were testifying and we were protesting and advocating for decriminalizing of prostitution, but we knew that it probably wasn't going to get passed. But we also knew that they were seeking to decriminalize marijuana at the same time, and that they would probably choose the lesser of two evils. So we took one for the team. So you're welcome. You're welcome. But I really was like hoping that they would decriminalize sex work. I thought that would be such a cool moment in Louisiana for the history of this place. But no, it didn't happen. But I learned to not care so much about the legal system and the legalities of how these things operate. I just decolonized myself enough to truly believe in spiritual methods as the best methods and not legislation. So that I went on to say, we must put extra effort into looking normal in order to fight for our rights. That's respectability politics, looking normal, looking respectable, so that people will respect you enough to give you rights, even though they're not really giving that respect to you. They're giving that respect to the respectable representative that you are portraying. Loudly stating this is just a job and we deserve the same rights as other workers. But some of us aren't workers. We are goddesses, and everywhere we go, we're goddesses, and we don't necessarily belong in offices or in the fight for workers' rights. Sex work is just as valid as any other lifestyle or employment path, and it can be spiritual and a form of activism. Respectability politics in the fight for sex worker rights leaves a lot of people out, and it diminishes the very real world changing impact of the ways we live our everyday lives. Even just developing wealth for ourselves is a political act, granting us the space to rest and heal, which we might not have if we lived according to other standards. If we worked a more stressful job with a bigger time commitment, or had a relationship in which we had to devote a lot of time to cooking and cleaning for someone else, we would have less time to devote to our own spiritual development and self-actualization. We get to make choices for the betterment of ourselves and our future through the enhanced resources sex work provides us. if I could sit here and read this whole essay to you guys, I would. But I'm just reading this part of it. This is the end. This is the very end of the essay. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to read the rest of it. But we get to make these choices for ourselves, for the betterment of ourselves and our future through the enhanced resources that sex work provides us. And when I wrote this, I was making like 50% of my income with sex work and 50% of my income with my business. So yeah, the enhanced resources sex work provides us, that is why we are considered so dangerous. It's fine if we're feeding the machine of greed, trapped in environments where we're stewed in abuse and our negative feelings about ourselves, our guilt, our rage, our shame, our denial of our own lovability. But when we embrace and accept all parts of ourselves and use our energy to purely channel our vibrational frequency of love into the things we wish to create, now we are truly dangerous. Me being me and being happy being me is considered a problem. Can you imagine? Sex work isn't the problem. Stigma is. Each person's experience of stigma and the internalized whorephobia it brings is reflective of the social, cultural, and religious background they come from. Yet, religion and spirituality are places where we can find immense healing. We don't leave these parts of ourselves out when we're doing sex work or when we're simply existing as goddesses, embodying heaven on earth and being spoiled by the universe. It's always a part of us. We've always been sacred. Period. Period. So this is one of the things that OnlyFans gave was the freedom to disconnect from some of those extremely toxic environments like the strip club or the Blade or seeing clients in person. But it doesn't mean that online work is any less toxic. It's a very hard work. People that make a lot of money on OnlyFans work very hard to do so, or they have a lot of help doing so. Because sometimes like you don't have to do all the hard work, someone else can do it. Okay, yes, period. Hoes are healers forever. Forever. Yes, I love this. This movement has been so important to me and so important to so many people, and it's just so beautiful. Like it came right at the right time for the cultural moment. And I'm not quitting, but I had to take my time to reformulate so that I could be safe and so that I could like feel secure with what I needed to do. So if you guys are here, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. It really helps my channel. It helps boost the algorithm so people will see my videos, because as you know, they might not want people to see this as much in the algorithm. So your involvement and your engagement and your comments and your likes and your subscriptions is what actually lets this algorithm know that my channel is worth tuning in for. So if you think it's worth tuning in for, then let them know and come up in the chat. Let us know you're here. Let's chat. What do you guys want to talk about? What do you have questions about? What do you have commentary about? Let's go. Okay, so first of all, who remembers Backpage and who remembers when Backpage got shut down? We are going to talk about some hoe shits. I remember how back in the day, anytime anybody wanted to try to get under my skin, anybody that knew me like close enough to know that I was a sex worker, anytime they wanted to get under my skin or try to make me feel bad, they would be like, "You're a Backpage hoe," like whatever, Backpage hoe. That's what they would always say. They'd be like, well, "You're a dick sucking hoe," and I'm like, "What? You don't know what I do with my clients?" I could just feel my future husband like, "Shut up." I can't. I can't. This is so funny. I can't. So who remembers Backpage? Who remembers City Vibe? Who remembers Eros? I think Eros, they still have Eros, but yeah. All right, you guys. So let's talk about the internet and how the the internet is full of porn, and it always has been. And it attracts people that are addicted to porn and that love porn. They're going to look at you no matter what platform you're on. That's why sex workers have this thing, no free foot pics, where a regular woman might post a picture of her pedicure or herself in sandals or something, but sex workers would probably never be that likely to do that unless it was an advertisement, because the number one fetish online is foot fetish, and they are trolling every platform looking for feet pics. So yeah, you can actually sell them. Yes, you can actually make money. However, this is not for everybody. And for anybody to think that they're just gonna start doing it, typically the reason why people do sex work is because they've been born into the caste, to the sex worker caste, and they're typically generational sex workers, whether they know it or not, because there's such a high degree of stigma within the realm of selling pussy. Like, most people will keep it a secret, they will deny it, and then throughout all of time, that's literally how, throughout the majority of our history that we know of, that's how women survived. And even not just women, but men also survived by being sexually available to people, especially if you're a sexually gifted person. So there's different types of people. Everybody's not sexually gifted. You'll know if you're sexually gifted. You'll have a certain beautiful body type that's like, people gravitate towards your body, they compliment your looks. You probably have been molested. You probably experienced something as a child that, like, where people were constantly gravitating towards you, wanting to have sex with you, even your own family members. And so in the larger sex workers rights movement, it's always this thing where there's always this storyline that gets brought up of, like, people that are against sex workers will say, they're just doing that because they're traumatized. They were molested and that's why they're doing it. They have daddy issues and that's why they're doing it. And then people within the community will be like, that's not true. I was never molested and I am happy and I love my job. And it's like, okay, but that actually might be true for the majority of us. And we don't really have the space to talk about it when it's just going back and forth with this basic ass fight that is a fight for respectability politics, because you don't deserve any more respect for not being molested. Like, you deserve respect either way. And a lot of people don't know that they were molested because they can't remember, because they were either hypnotized beforehand, or the trauma of it was so great, especially when you're molested by somebody that's in your family and you depend on them for survival. It's very traumatic, because, and you're probably going to block it out, because how are you going to reconcile that this person hurt me with, I need this person to survive, and you still love them? And so it becomes really complicated, and then it creates a dynamic in which pain is love, abuse is love. And for a lot of people, there's like a feeling of like, I don't know if I'm just not getting raped just because am I just not getting raped because I'm just letting anybody have sex with me? Like, this is a thing, you guys. So please tell me if you know what I'm talking about. Where you, for example, you might see like a girl that um, like has an encounter that's sexual that she doesn't like, and she complains and she says like, I didn't want that. But then you might have another girl that's like, doesn't know the difference between a sexual encounter that she would like and one that she wouldn't like. So she would just be open to it all. And what ends up happening over time is that becoming a sex worker is really a survival adaptation to protect yourself, because you're essentially making sure that you're getting something out of the exchange, and you're not just giving of yourself and being hurt and being left with nothing. But then what ends up happening is that it can be really challenging to be in that framework and operate in that framework, and then try to come out of it and try to have healthy relationships, or relationships that are not transactional. Crazy you say that, because I was thinking the exact same thing the other day about not getting raped because of having sex too easily anyways. Yeah. So that's one of the huge benefits of online sex work, is that they can't physically touch you, but they can still like access you in other ways. Also, a lot of people preferred Backpage and preferred in-person work, stripping and whatever because there was no paper trail as much. They like, for example, on Backpage, everybody used to use fake pictures on Backpage. I'm sorry, but if you wasn't using fake pictures on Backpage, you wasn't getting calls that like not that many calls. You was not getting that many calls because there's something weird about it. I don't know what it is, but they fucking love the fake pictures. So I would have several different ads up. I'm not going to talk about what I used to do right now. But so anyways, you didn't have to have your pictures up there. Like nobody knew that it was you. You could use whatever bitch that looked like you off of Instagram. Nobody knew that was you. And that's what everybody did. So don't come for me, you guys. Like, but people steal my pictures too, so don't worry about it. That's why I never liked OnlyFans. The idea of multiple men at the same time having my energy without me seeing them while they use it, if it makes sense. Yeah, because it's actually a lot of work to energetically protect yourself. And that's what a lot of people don't really take into consideration. A lot of people end up getting really sick if they're used to doing in-person sex work and they switch to cam or they switch to OnlyFans, they end up getting really sick because of that. That's what's happening. There's like so many people at the same time viewing you and consuming you that you have to be real solid and grounded and protected for that to not have an effect on you. And the people that have longevity in this and that have been successfully doing it for a long time, they've gone through many different initiation portals to let them build that up. I feel like one of the reasons of pushing everybody to OnlyFans and online sex work was also to have a record and a documented like image of all the different sexual healers. I feel like I feel really strongly that's one of the reasons why OnlyFans came out and why it became such a big cultural phenomenon. And this is why I question everything because yeah, like something can be good. You might get on OnlyFans and boom, you made 3 racks in one day. That's great. You just made your money, but they might have a ulterior motive for hosting the platform, which is attempting to energetically enslave your essence. And I know that might sound weird to some people, but it really is that deep. So as long as you have awareness of these things that they're going on, it helps you protect yourself against them more because obviously we still have to move throughout this system no matter what. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do whatever you feel called to do. You have to do what's right for you. But I'm just opening up the conversation. I feel like there's a lot of people that are pretty ignorant to these things. I think if you're real experienced and you already know what I'm talking about, you know, and you can make the best decisions for yourself. And for people that don't know or they're questioning, and even people that, you know, they feel pretty secure in your decision making, like you can still question everything and get support. And so like for example, okay, so I have this guide. It's the intuitive screening guide. So it allows you to discern between your intuition and anxiety when it comes to going to work. And I used it to basically help me because it's really hard sometimes to tell if it's intuition telling you no, this is not a good thing, or if it's anxiety that's just trying to stop you. And when you are sexually gifted and you're sexually powerful, other energies might try to come and try to distract you, try to mess things up for you, especially if you have suffered from some of the generational curses that we talk about. If you're suffering from the generational curse of sex slavery, what that will look like is that like yeah, like you'll have like success in the industry, things will be good, but then all of a sudden something really bad will happen. Like you might have like a great group of friends that you work together well with, and then all of a sudden like they set you up or some shit like that. Like I'm not putting this out there. I'm not manifesting this. I'm just saying like as an example. Okay, you might have like a really great sugar daddy that like treats you so great, and then all of a sudden he just turns on you and he's just like does something weird and it's just weird, you know. So if you notice that you have these experiences where like you're always worried that the other shoe is going to drop, what happens is like these energies that try to siphon off your sexual energy and your creative energy, they like a lot of times these energies are they're trying to block you from true love, and they're trying to block you from your true path. They're trying to block you from what's best for you, and they're trying to feed off your emotional energy. So they have a vested interest in having you go through cycles like that, where like you feel really good and then you feel really bad and then you feel really good and then you feel really bad, because they can attach to you and then drink that emotional energy like water, and it feeds them. So the more you practice mindfulness and you get into your body and you ground and you stay present with you stay centered and you stay present with yourself and with nature and with your intuitive guidance, the more you meditate and do Reiki, you work with spiritual healers, you do spiritual healing, you'll start to become more aware of these energies. And for some of these things, you'll be able to clear them up yourself on your own, no problem, with Heaven on Earth Reiki, or with working with whatever system you choose. But for some of y'all, the problem is way deeper, and it's way more rooted, and it's rooted in your bloodline, it's rooted in your lineage. It comes from before you were born. It's not no karma, like you did something and now it's coming back to you. It's before you were born, and these are generational curses. So that's what my course Root Lock is for, and it's a lifetime membership when you join Root Lock, because this healing happens over a lifetime. So at the beginning of the video, I was talking about this. We start with the Heaven on Earth Reiki practice, and that's a great way to start small and to start slow. But if you're really ready to dig in and you want more consistent support, I would join Root Lock. Root Lock is not a space that's just for sex workers and survivors. However, the majority of the people that are in the group are sex workers and survivors, and we specialize in breaking the generational curse of sexual abuse, which includes spiritual slavery, it includes sex slavery, it includes codependency, it includes poverty, it includes racism, it includes colonialism. So just by breaking that generational curse of sexual abuse, we break all those other curses, untold amounts of curses, because the way that these curses work is they're all glommed up and wrapped up in one another. They're conglomeration. So that's how they're so strong. And that's how they hold so many people down all at the same time. And this is not no white versus black thing, because literally every lineage has slavery in it, has sex slavery in it. And that's literally how many lineages came to be, is through forced breeding, ritual sacrifice, sexual abuse rituals with children. This is not new. It is not no thing that just came out with the Illuminati. It's been a way of life for earthlings for a long time. Who started it? I don't know. I don't know if the people that started it were earthlings or what this actually is all about, but we are opening up the conversation to find out more. So like I said, this is not going to be your typical talk about safety and sex worker safety. But if you want support with sex worker safety, get my intuitive screening guide on hoesarehealers.com, and that'll help you work through what's your anxiety and what's your intuition. And like I said, like even if you're like really trust yourself to move and you have really good intuition, it still doesn't hurt to have support. So I think a lot of times we think like, I'm gifted, I know what I'm doing, I got this, I don't need help. But it doesn't hurt to get help. It doesn't hurt to get help. So I'm just putting that out there. Sometimes it can be hard for people that are coming from a background of sex work to receive support, because it feels like pimping, it feels like exploitation, it feels like somebody that has in the past has supported them while hurting them or taking from them, or only supported them because they wanted something in return. So these are all triggers. Okay. So it's best to stay present with the triggers and to let them come up and hold space for them. And to know, like, when you work with me, like, it's not no weird shit. We have a whole community of people. So everything is out in the open. There's never anything where, no, it's not like that. No, we heal codependency. So we don't do codependency. We don't do codependency. We're careful. We still love each other and we care for one another. It was important for me to create a community because I needed that, because everything else that I seen and that I tried to join that was for sex workers did not represent me. And it was very like kind of thing where I just didn't feel like I belonged. And I also felt like I was like contributing way too much to not belong. Like, I was way too beneficial a member to not belong and to not be supported in those spaces. So hence creating my own space. And this space is multi-ethnic on purpose. We are multi-ethnic. We are all over the world. We come from all different lineages. And we're breaking these curses so that we can do with our bodies what we want freely. We can be free. We can have the sex that we want to have. We can create the things that we want to create. We don't have to just have our sexual energy put on display for other people unless that's what we want. And there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I'm merging the different aspects of myself because like breaking this curse of sexual slavery and coming out of it, it was very awkward. It felt very weird because the curse is what gave me a lot of my sensuality, my sexuality, and my beauty. So when I broke that curse, I changed and I didn't have access to that anymore. I have now because it wasn't authentic to me. It was imposed on me. It was coming from outside. It was demonic. Nothing wrong with demons or demonic shit, but you just want to know what who's your demon? What is it? And if it's one that's trying to hurt you and fuck up your life, then you get rid of him and you get a new one. So bringing in my new my new demons and like loving me that way, that I'm getting back to my beauty. I feel more beautiful than ever. I feel more creative than ever. I feel more healthy and happy than ever. And it's a process. But it's a process that is worth going through and worth exploring. Everything is not about money. It's sad that so many people think that they want to do sex work because they're blinded by the money, because that is a clear indication of the curse at work. Because you can make money doing a lot of things. And like I told you guys, like I make way more money with what I do now than I did as a sex worker. Way easier in a way that's more fulfilling for me. And it's not like just because I wasn't good at it or whatever. Like I got to the point of being really good at it, having beautiful pictures, a beautiful ad, great prices, great clients. And I still chose to do this instead because this is what I'm passionate about. That's me. So your passions are important. If you're passionate about sex work and you're especially passionate about online sex work, you're passionate about showing yourself in that way, that's beautiful. And that passion deserves to be nurtured because there's so much shame and stigma around showing up and showing yourself and being beautiful. And everybody loves celebrities, but celebrities are sex workers too. They're the highest paid sex workers in our culture. Sex workers that are in other income brackets are like the same thing, just without all the accolades. But even people that are beloved celebrities still get a lot of hate. There's a lot of shade and stigma against them too. So just finding where you fit in, what your life is supposed to be about. And for that, you can look to your birth chart to find out a lot of information. You'll be able to find out if you're meant to be an OnlyFans star or a adult film model. You'll know because you'll see it in the Capricorn and the Leo placements and the Scorpio placements, the 10th house, the 5th house, and the 8th house placements in your chart. There's certain placements that are the celebrity placement that means that you look good on camera. I have placements like these. So it's not about you. Like sometimes people will think, oh, who am I to think I could be this bad bitch on camera? It's not that you're egotistical or vain or conceited. It's that you literally came here to do that. And if you go in your birth chart, you'll see like gifted sex priestess, beautiful on camera. Like you'll see these things in your birth chart. And the Western astrology that we use is actually, it's basically your cheat code to the matrix. If you look in your Vedic astrology, that's your nakshatras, you'll see something different. You'll see your Vedic astrology is what you are without the matrix. But your Western astrology birth chart is your cheat code to getting there. You use what's there. It's the information there is how they structure you and stratify you in society. It's the difference between whether you were in the gifted and talented programs in school or the special ed programs in school. It's the difference between literally everything about your life. Everything about your life. Because in ancient times, in like Mayan societies and other civilizations, every time a child was born, they pulled their birth chart. They knew when gifted children were coming, and these societies were based on sex rituals. Fertility rituals was the basis of society in ancient times because that's how they lived. They had group orgies, sexual rights, fertility rights, and you had to come with a pure heart and unconditional love. And most people can't do that, and most people are not doing that when they're having orgies and in their polycules and everything. They're not. There's a lot more else there. If you are, I want to know. Talk about it. Talk about the unconditional love that you have and like how you build that and your fertility rituals. I want to know. I want to know. I'm interested. But this was the way of the world back in the day. When a child was born that was gifted, they would literally snatch that child from their home. If their parents were peasants, they would snatch the child from the home and bring the child into the temple and train the child for the child's entire life as a sex priest or a sex priestess. Because that's how powerful sexual energy is. So nowadays, that doesn't happen. Actually, what happens, they still know who we are, but we get systematically sexually traumatized at a young age instead of being trained. And I don't know, I'm not saying that the children that back in the day were not being sexually traumatized either, because I don't know what they were doing. But because I don't know what their training was. And that's the thing too, is like what I had to come to terms with and come to peace with is that, like, even though it hurt me so bad to have my bodily autonomy infringed upon, when I was a sex worker and I experienced sexual assault, healing from that is what led me to start to like go down the healing path: meditations, crystals, dreams, herbs, Reiki. And that's when I started to learn more about what actually happened to me in childhood. And my training to become a gifted sex priestess in childhood was molestation, ritual sexual abuse. And that's a lot of you guys too. That's a lot of my audience too, and a lot of people that are in the sex worker community. So that was our training. And now we get to use it for our benefit. There's things that you can do with your body and with your sexual energy that a lot of people can't do. Yes, that's amazing. So you're special. You know, who you choose as a partner matters. There's a lot of ways to protect your safety that I can't speak about publicly. So that's why I recommend joining my private platforms. I recommend joining my course, Root Lock, because we can go deeper into these things. She said, but yes, it can be a great experience if it's your passion. It honestly is great experience because I know how to do things that no one else can really do. But because I was trained as a child, I know how to do. And I don't need no one to tell me what to do. It's amazing when you can take the life experiences that were so hard that they almost broke you, and you can see that this is who you are and this is who you're meant to be. And you can use them powerfully. That's what we do. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. I'm going to be hopping off of here in a few minutes. So if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to share, do it now. I see a few people just joined. There's going to be a replay so you can watch the rest of it. And make sure to leave your 2 cents. Let us know what you think. I really want to open up the dialogue between us so that we can have a reciprocal relationship of communication, and I can continuously speak more to the things that are on your minds. It really helps for my channeling to have the live because I'm seeing what you guys are thinking and saying too. So I'm going to keep doing these live streams for every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I haven't decided what next week's topic is. Oh, actually, yeah, I'm going to call it Cultivating Safe Space. That's been a conversation that's been coming up a lot this past week. So that's going to be our live stream next Wednesday, is going to be Cultivating Safe Space. I think that's a really important combo to have. All right, you guys. So thanks for tuning in, healers. She said, I know I have it in my blood, but I also know that being in the spiritual healing arts and being a coach is even more in my blood. That's your priestess energy activating. It's all part of the same thing. It's all part of the same thing. You're a priestess. You would have coached people and healed people that way too back in the day. This would have been your role. Like, you would have been posted up in a temple and people would come to you with all kinds of random problems and you help them solve them. And that's why right now there's such a mass movement of priestesses activating, and so many of these priestesses come from the adult entertainment industry, whether that was sex trafficking, whether that was non-consensual ritual sexual abuse as a child, whether it was providing sexual and emotional labor in your home for your family, or whether it was stripping, escorting, porn, cam, phone, sex, whatever. Like I said, let me go back to this passage and I'll leave you guys with this. Okay, like I said, some of us aren't workers. We're not sex workers. We're not workers. We're goddesses, and everywhere we go, we're goddesses, and we don't necessarily belong in offices or in the fight for workers' rights. Sex work is just as valid as any other lifestyle or employment path, and it can be spiritual and a form of activism. And it is a form of activism to just live your life unapologetically. You don't have to protest shit. You are the protest. I also wanted to read this. When you open yourself up to a deep inner knowing, you become vulnerable to the truth about yourself, and it's much greater than anything you've ever been led to imagine. With awareness of that truth comes responsibility to act. When we heal ourselves, we heal the world. On that note, I will leave you with that. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, say mashallah, tell a friend, and as always, stay tuned. Peace, healers. Masalama.